The wind howled across the Antarctic Research Station as Dr. Sarah Chen stared at her holographic display, her breath visible in the cold air despite the heating systems running at full capacity. The quantum mechanics lab, buried 50 meters beneath the ice, had been her home for the past 18 months. Tonight, something was different. "Run it again," she ordered the facility's quantum AI, her voice steady despite her racing heart. The streams of data flowing through the air told a story that defied everything she knew about physics. The particle stream wasn't just moving faster than light. It was ignoring space-time altogether. Across the galaxy, on the crystalline world of Centauri Prime, first observer Calax's sensory tendrils twitched with irritation. Another anomalous reading from the primitive world called Earth. These humans weren't supposed to achieve quantum manipulation capabilities for at least another 3 centuries, according to the Great Archive's predictions. "Initiate Protocol 7, Sarah commanded, and the lab's systems began recording every possible measurement. The phenomenon she'd discovered while working on advanced propulsion theory wasn't just breaking the rules of physics, it was revealing that the rules themselves were incomplete. The facility's director, Dr. James Harrison, burst into the lab, his dark skin glistening with sweat despite the cold. "Chen, we're picking up some kind of quantum echo from your experiments. What the hell are you doing down here?" Sarah gestured to the holographic display. "Remember that theory I had about quantum entanglement being more than just paired particles? Look at this." She manipulated the display, showing how the particle stream was creating what appeared to be microscopic tears in spacetime itself. On Centauri Prime, Calax's report to the Council was met with dismissal. The humans still use biological neural networks for computation. Second Speaker Vex declared, their crystalline form resonating with authority. "They cannot possibly have achieved this level of quantum manipulation. Your sensors must be malfunctioning." Back in Antarctica, Sarah's discovery was drawing attention. Within hours, representatives from every major space agency were on secure video calls. The Chinese Space Administration's Dr. Lin looked particularly excited. "Dr. Chen, if these readings are accurate, you found something beyond theoretical faster-than-light travel. You found a way to step outside of space-time entirely." The next few days passed in a blur of calculations, confirmations, and classified briefings. Sarah's team grew from 3 researchers to 30, with experts arriving from every corner of Earth. The Antarctic Station, originally designed for basic quantum research, was rapidly being transformed into humanity's most advanced physics laboratory. "The quantum breach is stable," Sarah announced 1 week later, watching as their first macro-scale test object. A simple steel sphere disappeared from one chamber and instantaneously appeared in another 50 meters away. The gathered scientists erupted in applause, but Sarah was already focused on the next step. The steel sphere was intact, but its atomic structure showed signs of exposure to something their instruments couldn't quite measure. Calax, monitoring from afar, was now facing a crisis. The humans weren't just breaking the rules, they were breaking them in ways that suggested the Great Archive itself might be incomplete. The very foundation of galactic civilization was built on the Archive's predictions and technological progression models. As Sarah refined her breakthrough, she began to understand why their technology worked when all previous attempts at FTL travel had failed. Humanity's primitive approach to quantum mechanics, unbound by the rigid frameworks of more advanced civilizations, had allowed them to see possibilities that others had dismissed centuries ago. The arrival of Admiral Helena Torres marked the beginning of the project's militarization, though not in the way anyone expected. "Dr. Chen," she said, her weathered face serious, "we need to protect this discovery, but not just from other nations. We've detected unusual quantum signatures in orbit. We don't think we're the only ones interested in your work." Sarah worked through the night, piecing together the implications. The quantum breaches weren't just holes in space-time. They were holes in humanity's isolation. Every test they ran was like a beacon, announcing their presence to whatever might be watching. In her private quarters, Sarah recorded her thoughts. We've discovered something fundamental about the universe. The laws of physics aren't as rigid as we thought. They're more like guidelines, with exceptions we never knew to look for. We didn't break the rules. We just found the loopholes that were there all along. The next morning, as the Antarctic sun barely peeked over the horizon, Sarah made another breakthrough. The quantum breaches weren't random. They followed patterns, like rivers flowing through the fabric of space-time. They hadn't invented faster-than-light travel. They'd discovered the universe's hidden shortcuts. In the Galactic Council's Grand Chamber, Kallax finally found an ally in junior observer Zen. The humans must be contained, Zen argued, their crystalline form pulsing with urgency. They're not following the prescribed paths of technological development. They're dangerous. But it was too late. As Sarah Chen and her team refined their discovery, humanity was about to step onto the galactic stage in a way that would shatter the established order forever. The age of human isolation was ending, and the galaxy would never be the same. 3 months after the initial breakthrough, the Antarctic Research Station had transformed into a sprawling underground complex. Dr. Sarah Chen stood in the newly constructed testing chamber, watching as engineers assembled what would become humanity's first FTL prototype vehicle. The sleek craft, barely larger than a passenger van, represented everything they'd learned about manipulating quantum space-time corridors. Power circulation systems are online, announced Dr. Raj Patel, their lead engineer. His hands danced across holographic controls as the prototype hummed to life. Quantum field generators maintaining stability at 15% capacity. On Centauri Prime, first observer Kallax faced the Galactic Council's Emergency Committee. The crystalline beings towered over him, their forms refracting light in patterns that conveyed their growing concern. The humans have progressed from quantum manipulation to practical applications in less than one stellar cycle, Kallax reported, his sensory tendrils quivering. They're not just breaking the rules of physics, they're breaking the rules of technological progression itself. Back on Earth, Sarah's team had made another breakthrough. The quantum corridors, she explained to Admiral Torres, pointing to a complex holographic model. They're not random. They follow what we're calling cosmic geography, natural pathways through space-time that have always existed. We're just the first species to look for them this way. The Admiral studied the model intently, because we weren't bound by preconceptions about what's possible. Exactly, Sarah nodded. Our primitive approach led us to question everything, including our basic assumptions about how space-time works. In the council chambers, junior observer Zen presented a disturbing analysis. The humans are achieving in months what took other species centuries. Their neural architecture, which we dismissed as primitive, allows for intuitive leaps our crystalline logic systems cannot replicate. They're not following the archive's progression path because they don't know it exists. The emergency committee erupted in debate. Second speaker Vex's form pulsed with agitation. If word of this spreads, it could destabilize the entire galactic order. Countless species might question the archive's authority. At the Antarctic facility, the prototype vessel's first unmanned test was about to begin. Sarah stood in the control room, surrounded by screens showing every possible measurement. Initiating quantum field generation, Dr. Patil announced. The prototype began to glow with a soft blue light as the quantum generators created a controlled breach in spacetime. Field stability at 98%, called out Dr. Emma Santos, their quantum mechanics specialist. The corridor is forming exactly as predicted. Sarah watched as the prototype accessed one of their mapped quantum corridors, natural shortcuts through spacetime that their instruments had detected. Unlike traditional FTL theories that tried to break the light-speed barrier, they were simply stepping outside normal spacetime altogether. The prototype vanished. For 3 seconds, the control room was silent. Then multiple screens lit up simultaneously. Signal acquired, Dr. Santos shouted. The prototype has reached the reception point. Transit time, instantaneous. Distance covered, 1 astronomical unit. The room erupted in cheers. They had just sent a vehicle from Earth to roughly the orbit of Mars, not by traveling through the space between, but by stepping through a quantum corridor that connected the 2 points directly. On Centauri Prime, the emergency committee reached a decision. "We must intervene," declared First Speaker Luminar, their crystalline form resonating with authority. "The humans cannot be allowed to develop this technology independently. The stability of galactic civilization depends on controlled technological progression." But as the committee debated intervention strategies, humanity's progress accelerated. Sarah's team discovered that each use of a quantum corridor made it more stable, like wearing a path through untamed wilderness. They weren't just finding natural shortcuts, they were establishing permanent routes through space-time. Admiral Torres, watching another successful test, turned to Sarah. "How long until we can scale this up to larger vessels?" Sarah studied the data streaming across her displays. The principles remain the same regardless of size. The quantum corridors don't care how big the object is. They're like doors that have always been there. We just had to learn how to find them and turn the handles. In orbit, cloaked alien observation posts recorded everything, transmitting data back to an increasingly alarmed Galactic Council. The humans weren't just developing FTL technology. They were developing it in a way that fundamentally challenged the Council's understanding of physics and technological progression. As Sarah prepared for their first manned test flight, she recorded another log entry. "We're not really breaking the rules of physics. We're just the first ones to realize that the rulebook isn't complete. The universe has always had these shortcuts, these quantum corridors. Maybe it took a species that didn't know what was impossible to finally find them." The Galactic Council's intervention fleet was already assembling, but they were about to learn another crucial lesson about humanity. When backed into a corner, humans don't just think outside the box. They question why there needs to be a box at all. The prototype vessel, now christened Quantum Pioneer, gleamed under the harsh lights of the Antarctic testing chamber. Dr. Sarah Chen ran her hand along its smooth hull, feeling the slight vibration of the quantum field generators beneath the surface. Today, she would be its first pilot. "Final systems check complete." Dr. Patel's voice came through her earpiece as she settled into the pilot's seat. "Quantum corridor mapping systems are online. We've plotted a course to the Mars observation station." Admiral Torres watched from the control room, her expression tense. Their long-range sensors had detected increased activity in the outer solar system, signs that someone was taking a very keen interest in humanity's breakthrough. In the Galactic Council's intervention fleet, First Speaker Luminar addressed the assembled commanders. "The humans must be shown the proper path of technological development. Their quantum corridor technology must be contained before it destabilizes the entire foundation of galactic civilization." Inside Quantum Pioneer, Sarah initiated the startup sequence. Holographic displays materialized around her, showing the quantum topography of local spacetime, a map of natural shortcuts that had always existed, waiting to be discovered. "Quantum field generators at full power," she reported, beginning corridor access sequence. The ship hummed as its systems reached out to touch the fabric of spacetime itself. On Centauri Prime, Junior Observer Zen made a startling discovery. "The humans aren't just using the quantum corridors," they reported urgently. "They're strengthening them. Each transit makes the pathways more stable, more permanent. They're reshaping the quantum landscape of their entire sector." The control room monitors showed the quantum field forming around Quantum Pioneer. Unlike the violent distortions predicted by traditional FTL theories, the field was elegant, almost natural, like water flowing into existing channels. "Corridor stability at 100%, Dr. Santos announced. "Ready for transit on your mark, Dr. Chen." Sarah took a deep breath. Initiating transit in 3, 2, 1. The Antarctic testing chamber disappeared. For a fraction of a second that felt like eternity, Sarah experienced something no human had before, the complete absence of spacetime itself. Then, with a gentle shift that belied the incredible distance covered, Mars filled her view screen. "Transit successful. Dr. Patel's voice crackled through the comms. Position confirmed. You're in stable orbit around Mars. Transit time was instantaneous. Congratulations, Sarah. You're the first human to travel faster than light. But Sarah was barely listening. Something on her quantum topography display had caught her attention. Control, are you seeing this? The corridor. It's not just stable. It's permanent now. We've created a fixed route through space-time. In the intervention fleet, alarms blared. Impossible. First Speaker Luminar's crystalline form pulsed with agitation. They've established a permanent quantum pathway in their first man test. The archive indicates this should take centuries of sustained use. Sarah's voice carried a hint of awe as she reported her observations. Each transit isn't just using the corridor. It's like we're paving a road through wilderness. The more we use it, the more stable and permanent it becomes. We're not just traveling through space-time. We're building an infrastructure. Admiral Torres immediately grasped the implications. We're not just developing FTL travel. We're creating a network of permanent shortcuts through space, a quantum highway system for humanity. The Galactic Council's worst fears were being realized. The humans weren't just breaking the rules of technological progression. They were establishing their own rules, their own infrastructure, their own way of approaching faster-than-light travel. As Sarah prepared for the return transit, her instruments detected something new. Control, I'm picking up unusual quantum signatures near the orbit of Jupiter. Large ones. Something's out there, and it's using technology similar to ours. In the intervention fleet, First Speaker Luminar made a decision. We can no longer wait. The humans must be contacted and contained before they further disrupt the natural order of technological progression. But they had waited too long. Sarah's discovery about the permanent nature of quantum corridors had already been transmitted back to Earth. Even as the intervention fleet prepared to reveal itself, humanity was mapping and stabilizing more corridors, creating an ever-growing network of permanent routes through space-time. Return transit in 3, 2, 1. Sarah engaged the quantum drive again. As Quantum Pioneer slipped through the corridor back to Earth, she couldn't help but smile. Humanity hadn't just achieved faster-than-light travel. They'd found their own unique way of doing it, one that would change the galaxy forever. In her final transmission before the return transit, Sarah summed up what they'd discovered. The universe isn't just stranger than we imagined. It's more accommodating. The paths were always there. We just had to be brave enough, and maybe crazy enough, to look for them. The Galactic Council was about to learn that when humans forge their own path, they don't just break barriers. They reshape the very nature of what's possible. The massive crystalline ships of the Galactic Council's intervention fleet emerged from stealth near Jupiter's orbit, their sudden appearance sending waves of shock through Earth's scientific community. Dr. Sarah Chen stood in the Antarctic facility's main conference room, watching alongside Admiral Torres as the alien vessels approached. "They've been watching us all along," Sarah said, her mind racing through the implications. "All those quantum echoes we detected, they weren't equipment malfunctions." The first transmission from the fleet arrived on all frequencies in perfect English. "Humanity, you have violated the natural order of technological progression. Your quantum corridor technology must be surrendered to the Galactic Council for proper development according to the Grey Archives guidelines." Admiral Torres's laugh was without humor. "They want us to give up our technology so they can teach us how to develop it properly, after we've already succeeded." In the Council fleet, First Speaker Luminar was growing increasingly concerned. The humans showed no signs of the fear or awe that usually accompanied a species' first contact with the Council. Instead, their quantum corridor network continued to expand, new pathways appearing and stabilizing with each passing hour. "Initiate the suppression field," Luminar commanded. The fleet's ships began generating a complex quantum interference pattern designed to disrupt unauthorized quantum manipulation technology. In the Antarctic facility, alarms blared. "They're trying to shut down our quantum corridors," Dr. Puddle reported, his fingers flying across holographic controls. But something's wrong. Our network isn't responding the way they expected. Sarah rushed to her station, studying the readings. What she saw made her smile. They're trying to disrupt quantum manipulation based on their understanding of physics, but our corridors don't work the way they think they do. The suppression field, designed to prevent quantum manipulation according to the Council's scientific principles, had almost no effect on humanity's network of quantum corridors. Like trying to stop a river by building a wall beside it, the field was targeting the wrong aspect of the phenomenon. Junior Observer Zen, monitoring the situation, sent an urgent message to the Fleet Command. The human's quantum technology operates on principles not documented in the archive. Our suppression methods are ineffective because we're trying to prevent something we don't fully understand. First Speaker Luminar tried a different approach. Humanity, the great archive, contains the accumulated wisdom of 1,000 species. Your uncontrolled development threatens the stability of established physics. Accept our guidance, and we will show you the proper path. Sarah's response, transmitted on the same frequency, was polite but firm. With respect, Speaker, we're not breaking physics. We're just the first ones to look at it without preconceptions about what's possible. Your archive isn't wrong. It's just incomplete. The Council's next move was more direct. Ships positioned themselves at key points in the solar system, attempting to physically block access to the most frequently used quantum corridors. But they soon discovered another flaw in their understanding. The corridors aren't fixed points in space, Sarah explained to Admiral Torres as they watched the alien ships maneuver. They're relationships in space-time. We can access them from anywhere with the right quantum resonance. They're trying to block doors that don't actually exist in physical space. In desperation, the Council attempted to offer Earth membership in the galactic community, with the condition that humanity's quantum technology be placed under Council supervision. The response came not just from the Antarctic facility, but from a united Earth government. We appreciate the offer. The transmission began, but humanity will join the galactic community as equals, not students. We're happy to share our discoveries, but we won't surrender them. The universe is too vast for any one perspective to be complete. As the Council fleet hovered in Earth's solar system, unable to suppress humanity's technology or persuade them to surrender it, a remarkable thing began to happen. Other species, hearing about the humans who had found a new way to traverse space-time, began sending their own representatives, not through the Council, but directly to Earth. They want to learn from us, Sarah told Admiral Torres, reviewing the growing list of diplomatic requests. Not because we're more advanced, but because we proved that the archive isn't absolute. We showed that there are always new ways to look at old problems. First Speaker Luminar, watching their authority erode, finally understood. The humans hadn't just developed a new technology. They demonstrated that the Council's greatest weakness was its certainty that it already knew everything worth knowing. As alien ships continued to arrive through traditional FTL means, humanity's network of quantum corridors grew more extensive and stable. Earth was rapidly becoming a hub of not just technological innovation, but of a new way of thinking about what was possible. 1 year after first contact, the Antarctic Research Facility had become Earth's first interstellar exchange center. Dr. Sarah Chen stood in what had once been a classified testing chamber, now transformed into a lecture hall filled with beings from across the galaxy. Among the audience, crystalline forms sparkled next to organic entities, all united by an eagerness to learn humanity's unique approach to physics. The quantum corridors were always there, Sarah explained, gesturing to a holographic model of interweaving space-time paths. The key wasn't developing new technology. It was learning to see what had always existed. Sometimes, the greatest discoveries come from questioning our most basic assumptions. In orbit, Admiral Torres watched as vessels from dozens of species arrived through both conventional FTL and the growing network of quantum corridors. Earth had become more than just another world in the galactic community. It had become a symbol of the possible. On Centauri Prime, the Galactic Council was undergoing its own transformation. Junior Observer Zen, now promoted to senior researcher, addressed the council. The Great Archive was never meant to be a limitation. It was meant to be a foundation to build upon. The humans reminded us of this essential truth. First speaker Luminar, their crystalline form dimmed with humility, agreed. We had become so focused on preserving knowledge that we forgot the importance of discovering it. The humans' greatest contribution wasn't their quantum corridor technology. It was their reminder that the universe still holds mysteries. Back on Earth, Sarah worked with teams of human and alien scientists to map and stabilize an ever-expanding network of quantum corridors. Each new discovery revealed more about the fundamental nature of space-time, and each revelation sparked new questions. The corridors are actually adapting to use, she explained to a mixed group of researchers. It's like they're learning from us as much as we're learning from them. The more we understand about how space-time works, the more we realize how little we truly know. The impact of humanity's discovery reached far beyond transportation. Species that had relied on the Council's prescribed technological progression began exploring alternative approaches to other challenges. The archive, once treated as an absolute authority, was now seen as what it should have been all along, a valuable but incomplete record of galactic knowledge. Admiral Torres, reviewing reports of the expanding human presence in space, smiled at a particular detail. The first human embassy on Centauri Prime had been constructed using a unique blend of Earth architecture and alien crystalline engineering, a physical symbol of how different approaches could complement each other. We didn't just change how people travel through space, Sarah noted in her personal log. We changed how they think about possibility itself. Sometimes the most important breakthrough isn't the technology you develop, but the assumptions you challenge along the way. The quantum corridor network continued to grow, but it was no longer just a human achievement. Other species brought their own perspectives, their own innovations, their own ways of understanding the universe. Each contribution made the network more stable, more efficient, more elegant. First speaker Luminar, in a historic address to the Council, formally acknowledged the change. The archive will no longer be treated as an absolute guide to technological progression. Instead, it will serve as a repository of knowledge, open to new discoveries, new perspectives, and new possibilities. In the Antarctic facility's observation dome, Sarah watched the southern lights dance across the sky. The same phenomenon that had once been explained by simple electromagnetic principles now revealed subtle quantum interactions with the corridor network, another example of how new understanding could reveal deeper layers of reality. The universe, she told a group of young students from various species, isn't a puzzle to be solved. It's a mystery to be explored. Every answer we find leads to new questions, and that's exactly how it should be. As ships of all designs and origins traced their paths through the quantum corridor network, humanity had achieved something greater than faster-than-light travel. They had helped create a galaxy where innovation wasn't bound by tradition, where progress wasn't limited by doctrine, and where the greatest discovery was the realization that there would always be more to discover. The stars, once seemingly separated by insurmountable distances, were now connected by paths that had always existed, waiting for someone to be bold enough, curious enough, and perhaps just stubborn enough to find them. And in that achievement, humanity had found not just its place in the galaxy, but its role, to remind everyone that the universe would always have one more surprise for those willing to look for it.